So I'd say like 2 or 3 days ago, I told a personal story of me in prison where, some people could look at it as stealing. I look at it like finders, keepers, losers, weepers. But it was about a CD that was taken from a person doing life in prison. And the CD happened to have been a Marilyn Manson CD. That story was reminded to me by this court case. And I said I was going to bring it y'all's way, and today is the day. In 2019, Mr. Marilyn Manson, or Brian Warner is his real name, was charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of simple assault for spitting and blowing his nose on a camera woman at a New Hampshire concert. Well, we're going to find out what happens with him today in the courtroom with that. Not to mention, if you stay tuned to the end, my co-host Bobby over here has agreed to allow me to show you exactly what Marilyn Manson did to the videographer on him, so that people don't lose sight of the heinousity of the crime. Purely and merely for educational purposes only, Bobby said. So stay tuned to the end for that. But if you enjoy this type of content, all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. Now, the audio in this clip is pretty busted, man, and there ain't really too much excitement in it, besides the fact that there ain't too many videos with Mr. Manson in the courtroom. Either way, this is kind of legendary, and I had to have it on the channel. I've seen guys doing mosh pit activities inside of a prison cell with Marilyn Manson playing in the background, turning it into a full-fledged fight, not to mention working out on the prison yard listening to Marilyn Manson, and stealing the CD, or I call finding the CD, from someone doing life in prison. So, yeah, even though I don't know him personally, I kind of feel like I do. I think back in the day, people used to say he was the Wonder Years guy. Was he really? I still haven't figured out if that was a myth or true. Let's find out right now, actually. No, he was not. He was not. So let's jump right into it. Like I said, the audio's kind of shoddy, but man, Manson got a nice suit on. I'm not gonna lie. I would definitely want to wear that. This is horrible audio.
Okay. On the date and time alleged in this case, we're going to go to trial. The state will present evidence that on the date and time in question in the complaint, there was a performance being held at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion. Mr. Warner was performing. The victim in this case was a photographer, a videographer who was hired by the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion and who was on the side of the stage near where Mr. Warner was. He was performing a song, and during that song, at one point he approached the camera and he looked into the lens and he spit at the camera and struck the camera operator with saliva. The state's position was that she had not consented to that behavior and it wasn't with any permission on her part. Subsequently, later in the performance, in the same song, I believe, he then approached the camera again, and this time he expelled matter from his nose at the camera, striking the woman.
God, I paused and I could still hear the static in my brain from the audio of the clip, but just say it plainly, bro. He snot rocketed, on the camera person. Why didn't she get the hell out the way? That's a question. She got spat on earlier. You can only expect some more fluids to be on his way, right? This is a Marilyn Manson concert, man. Every cameraman in there should know that some kind of fluids might come their way. I don't know if he was mad at her or something, just decided to do that. But if I were to guess, he was just caught up in the show. Being a metal star, rock star, you gotta be a little filthy. Ozzy Osbourne used to bite heads off of bats and stuff like that. Speaking of which, I heard that Marilyn Manson's suit right here is made from the skins of 50 Lithuanian bats. Nothing fits better than that for Mr. Manson. But yeah, man, these rock stars do crazy stuff on stage. So all you entertainers out there, man, it doesn't matter what kind of genre you're in, man. Don't be messing with the camera crew in any way, shape, or form, or you'll be in a situation like this. Recently, man, I've been seeing a lot of performers throwing their mic at people. Like me, if I threw a mic at someone, that's assault with a deadly weapon. I'm going to the penitentiary. Either way, this is just appalling to me if you're to ask me, man. You go to a concert, Marilyn Manson concert, you gotta expect something to hit you. Fist, spit, something.
Your Honor, the victim, I spoke to the victim prior to agreeing to the terms of this. She told me she did not object to this going forward, although she does have an impact statement that she would like to have read into the record. So I asked the victim advocate to read that into the record.
Okay.
Now, the victim's not there, but they got a victim advocate that's going to be reading a piece of paper probably saying how atrocious the act was against her.
For me, I'm a professional person, and I've been in this industry for 30 years. I've worked for a lot of companies, and in all the years I've worked with people, I've never been humiliated or treated the way I was by the defendant. For him to spit on me and blow his nose on me was the most disgusting thing a human being has ever done. I understand this was not a big criminal charge to begin with, but I was hoping that this defendant would receive a sentence that would make him think twice before doing something like this again.
So, Your Honor, for your sentence, given the nature of the crime in this case, Warner is a person of some fame and notoriety, but in my office, I strive.
Maybe that was the victim right there sitting next to the advocate, but he ain't gonna be able to express his activities on stage no more the way he wants to. He's learned his lesson.
All defendants the same, regardless of that sort of thing. And so, given the fact that he's 54 years old, he comes before the court with no prior criminal record of any kind. And obviously this was an act, I believe, of very poor judgment, which clearly showed a great deal of disrespect toward the camera woman who he did this to. And so it is deserving of some punishment, but in this case the defendant will be receiving a criminal conviction. And this is his first criminal conviction ever. He'll have to pay a fine, he'll have to do community service. And we believe that a sentence of this type is similar to how we would treat any other defendant who was similarly situated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow, so this is the metal rock star's first crime ever. 54 years old. Wow, time's flying. I had no idea he was that old. But 54 years old with decades of doing concerts across the world. And this is his first crime. I gotta say, Mr. Manson, he seems to be a law-abiding citizen. And it surprises me that his attorney couldn't get this case dismissed, man, just based upon he's just trying to entertain the crowd. He wasn't thinking about actually harming the camera person. If I were to guess, if I was his attorney, he'd be walking away scotch-free. Scott or scotch?
All right, Mr. Warren, can you stand up? I'm going to take your plea at this point. Are there any facts, because this is a no contest, that Attorney Barker, you wish to add to the offer of proof?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Mr. Warner, I have here the acknowledgement and waiver of rights on a Class B misdemeanor. Did you go over that form carefully with Attorney Barker?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and did you understand that form?
Yes.
Do you understand that by entering a plea of no contest that you're giving up certain rights that you have?
Yes.
Okay, do you understand you're giving up the right?
That's a face of guilt and remorse right there.
Yes.
Okay, and do you understand you're giving up the right to see, hear, and question all witnesses?
Yes.
And do you understand you're giving up the right to present evidence, call witnesses in your favor, and to testify on your behalf?
Yes.
Do you understand if you chose not to testify, the court would have instructed the jury not to draw a negative inference from your silence?
Yes.
Do you understand it would have been the state's burden at trial to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt with respect to all the elements of the charges?
Yes.
And do you understand you're waiving the right to appeal?
Yes.
And are you entering this plea of your own free will, free from any pressure or anyone forcing you to enter this plea?
Yes.
All right, so on the charge before the court, which docket number?
Ending in,
Come on, Your Honor, this is Marilyn Manson case. Get it right.
Ends in 8C.
Okay. All right, so on docket number 1894058C, what plea do you wish to enter at this time?
No contest.
The court will accept your no contest plea. The court is entering a finding of guilt. The court finds that the state would have met its burden of proof, and the court will impose the sentence that was outlined by the court at the beginning of the hearing. Did you want to make a statement at all?
No.
Okay. So the court will impose a sentence. The court does overall find, well, this is quite egregious act, that the goals of sentencing have been met with this plea, given the lack of a record and given the charges.
All right, just for the record, Your Honor, I just want to make clear the docket number is, the Superior Court docket number is 2023 CR 008.
Oh, I read this. Okay.
Yep. And the charge ID is 1894058. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay.
I guess the final thing is using all process.
I will file that after.
Okay, and when will the fine be paid?
In about 5 minutes.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, take care.
I was going to just call it because I told her that. They don't have
Am I losing it? Or you want me-
Yeah.
Now, before they even went into the courtroom for the sentence, they already knew what Manson was going to be looking at. The victim was in agreement with it as well. The sentence was 20 hours of community service plus a $1,400 fine, and if I were to guess, later on down the road, he'll probably get that expunged off his record. Minor offenses like that, especially if it was kind of taken out of context and he didn't really mean to do it in a physical, attacking kind of way, then a judge later on could agree to get it off of his record. Not to mention it's his only crime, so that would help him a lot in the expungement case. But still, as promised, my co-host said that he would agree to allow me to show y'all what Marilyn Manson did to her on him. I warn you now, some of this could be distressful to some, but it must be done. We can't forget about the heinous acts done by Mr. Marilyn Manson. Nope, no cameraman or woman should ever have to be subjected to such treatment while doing their job. But Bobby, like I said, has volunteered for the reenactment for educational purposes only. So if I were to guess, Mr. Manson was probably on stage. So let's just stand on the chair, act like we're on stage. And, the camera person is Bobby. Marilyn probably went down closely to get some activity on the camera so the people could see him and get a feel for him. They're like way back in the back of the crowd. And the only way for him, what I believe, to get the crowd to feel his emotions is to spit. So let's go ahead. He's probably rocking out and then he leans down, spits on him, goes back to rocking, the crowd's going crazy and stuff, and then leans back in and does a little snot rocket on him, not knowing that it's about to be going to the courtroom, but he goes back to rocking it out and winning the crowd's love, So, Bobby, I appreciate your assistance today. I'm sorry, Marilyn didn't do that, but God, you took that one like a champion and didn't even fall down, you piece of shit. Gotta hit him with a fist nowadays. He's getting too strong for them slaps. He must have been working out last night. Anyways, as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and stay free. And never be spitting or snot rocketing on nobody.